Hey, World Entertainment, and it's here. The first official announcements for the James Gunn, Peter Safran led DC Slate. He dropped it on Twitter. He gave basically an update of only half of what will be the first phase, which will be called Gods and Monsters. And it's a huge letdown with huge red flags. Oh, yes, we shall get into it. We shall get into it. So, he talks about the first 4 movies that are to come, still to come, from the previous regime. But the way he talks about them sounds like he wants to incorporate them into what he's doing going forward, which is a red flag to start with when you consider Ezra Miller is a part of that. We'll get into that at the end of this. He says like fantastic 3 to 4 times. So he talks about, first up is Shazam, and there's a lot of contradictory stuff in here for what he said and what he has previously said, where the likes of Superman is too old now and they want to go younger, and you know it doesn't fit with everything. But he says, the first thing he says is the likes of the Batman, Matt Reeves the Batman, Todd Phillips the Joker, and Teen Titans Go. I don't know whether that's a series or what. They will coexist in what they will call the DC Elseworlds, which will stand alone outside of the main DC universe. But then he went on and he says, first up is Shazam. Didn't realize Shazam was the first movie. Thought it was one of the last ones that was going to come out. But he says Shazam, which he says was a character who was very much on the outside and kept to itself and blah blah blah, so it can meld perfectly into the DC universe. Makes no sense, but okay. Which leads then into The Flash, which is where he says is a fantastic movie that he loves. Good for him. That he then states resets the entire DC universe, which means they are going to keep the General Zod killing Superman when he's a baby, which also contradicts what comes up later. So he then says, which moves then into the next fantastic movie, The Blue Beetle, which he says is a great cast and young guy finding his way, blah blah blah, which leads into Aquaman 2. And the interest about Aquaman 2, I think it really shows how bad Aquaman 2 is going to be, because he literally says, which brings us to Aquaman 2, which will be dropping soon. And that brings us into our first official announcement for it. So there was no Aquaman 2 was fantastic. There's no, the performances are great and it melds perfectly into blah blah blah. No, he just, Aquaman 2 is coming, and that leads us into what leads us into the first part of the first phase of the new DCU Gods and Monsters. Is it Superman? No. Well, then surely it must be Batman? No. Is it Wonder Woman? No. Is it even Aquaman or The Flash? No. It's an animated cartoon TV series called Creature Commandos. Yeah. Your first official announcement for the brand new DC is a cartoon TV series called Creature Commandos. It's basically a Suicide Squad type of group. The likes of Weasel are in it and stuff. Now, he stated that the idea with the animation is animated characters will jump to live action and live action characters will jump to animation. But they want the same people to play them. So if the cartoon character goes to live action, whoever voices that character will play them then in live action, and vice versa. If whoever acts as a character that ends up in the animation will voice the character in animation. Which is interesting because Weasel seems to be a part of this. And who played Weasel in Suicide Squad? Oh, that's right. James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn. Is it Sean or Shane? I think it's Sean Gunn. So, obviously he's keeping him. Which then jumps to our next announcement. A live action TV series, Waller. The Amanda Waller TV show. And not just any old Amanda Waller. Viola Davis's Amanda Waller. The Amanda Waller that we've gotten in Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad, and Black Adam. And she will team up with Team Peacemaker. What does that mean? Well, that means that, of course, the TV series that James Gunn created and made, Peacemaker, is sticking around. Oh, who's a part of that show? Oh, that's right, his wife. Oh, who the hell wants Amanda Waller, Viola Davis led series? And not just that, but there's another contradiction. Because this woman has interacted with Ben Affleck's Batman, well, Bruce Wayne. She is the one who sends Henry Cavill's Superman to Black Adam. Oh. But then this leads into our first major announcement, which he says will be the first truly official launch to the new DCU, Superman, which will be called Superman Legacy, scheduled to come out on July 11th, 2025. So that's going to be a hell of a turnaround because he's only midway into writing the script. This is the origin, not an origin, but totally an origin story with young Superman starting out at the Daily Planet. How and why is it called Legacy? That would be the title for a movie where he dies. Are they about to introduce Superman to kill off Superman? Oh, God. But there's your other real contradiction. So Superman is in this universe, but you've stated the Flash will completely change and wipe the slate clean for DC, which means Superman dies, but then you're going to have this younger, newer Superman in the same universe with Amanda Waller, who's already acted with Cavill's Superman. He thinks he's cleaning up the mess. It sounds like he's making more of a mess. And it goes from Superman, which, by the way, is the only thing out of everything he announces that has a date, a release date. So, July 11th, 2025. We then jump into the next live action series, Lanterns, the Green Lantern show. We're going to be following Stewart and Jordan. Hal Jordan, is that the other one? And he describes this so strangely because it says it's basically going to be True Detective. Okay. which season of True Detective and exactly what are you indicating? Is this going to be like super dark and stuff? Very strange. He did say other lanterns will be sprinkled in there, here and there. But that it's going to be basically True Detective in space, kind of. Which brings us to our next movie. One that he is super pumped for because it's his passion project. By the way, everything that's announced here is stuff that he is passionate for. Not what the fans are expecting and would be looking forward to. Everything he is passionate for. The Creature Commandos, he's written the episodes. He says they're all written, so he writ that though. The Superman Legacy, he's writing Superman Legacy. And now this movie, he says, is his passion project. Didn't indicate whether he's writing it or going to direct it or whatnot, but he says it's been a passion project for him. The Authority. That's right, your next big DC movie after the Superman Legacy movie in the new DCU will be The Authority, who are basically DC's version of The Boys. You know the show The Boys with Carl Urban, where it's basically a group of superheroes who misunderstand everything and think the world is broken and will do everything and anything to fix it. Good luck in selling this one to people, especially normies. We then jump to our next live action TV series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is set on Themyscira, home of Wonder Woman. Yet there is no mention of Wonder Woman, so we don't know where she is, what she's doing. Is she around? Is this before her, after her, when? Don't know. But he describes this in a horrible way. It's going to be Game of Thrones. Yippee. If I want to watch something like Game of Thrones, no, I'll watch Game of Thrones. Jesus. Which then brings us to our next one. Our next movie. Batman. Batman the Brave and the Bold. Which is an interesting choice for a name because the comic he is pulling from for this movie is not from that comic called Brave and the Bold. It's going to be Batman with his actual son, Damian Wayne, who becomes Robin, who's an assassin and a completely unlikable character. Nobody likes Damian Wayne. But James Gunn says this version of Robin and the character of Damian Wayne is his favourite character in terms of Robin. So we're not getting a Dick Grayson or anything. We're going, or Tim Drake. No, we're going immediately to Damian Wayne. Which also begs the question, how exactly are you starting fresh with younger people if you're going to have a Batman with a son who's already his sidekick? That means you're going to have an old Batman next to a young Superman. So, yeah. Then we're going to have a live action TV series, Booster Gold, who's a character from the future who he describes as a loser who just wants to be accepted, who comes to the past and tries to prove himself. Yippee. Then this one. This one is the huge red flag. He's going with Tom King's Supergirl, the Woman of Tomorrow. Who's Tom King? Tom King is what could only be described as comic books walking, talking human pile of dog shit. He is a guy who went out of his way to get comic creators and comic book owners, like store owners and stuff, banned from attending conventions and stuff because they were pretty much refusing to sell his copies of comics because they were trash. He also is the guy who had to apologize to an Asian comic artist named Jay Lee, who he claimed was a part of Comicsgate, and got him kicked off projects while the guy was on his way to bury his dog. That's who Tom King is. He's a guy who wrote the Batman comic where Bane killed Alfred. He destroyed Batman. He destroyed Supergirl. And James Gunn loves this version of Supergirl and is working with Tom King to bring this version, the Woman of Tomorrow, which is stealing the Superman comic name, Man of Tomorrow. And this is basically going to be a story of privilege, because it's about Superman, who was sent to Earth from dying Krypton and raised by loving parents on Earth, while Supergirl, this version of Supergirl, was raised on a chunk of Krypton and watched everyone that she knows and loves around her die horribly. Yay. So she's such a jaded character this time around. Which brings us to the very last announcement. Live action movie Swamp Thing, which he says will be dark and very different in tone to everything else, but can easily fit in with everything else. It's obviously going to be a brand new version of Swamp Thing. It's not going to be a renewal from the series, which was actually a good series, even though it had one season. That was also strange. They cancelled it before they even dropped the first season. But that was a good show. So this version of Swamp Thing, God knows what we'll get. But that's it. That's the announcements. So Superman wasn't even the first thing announced. Batman was the 7th thing announced. No Wonder Woman announced. And a lot of contradictory stuff compared to you're keeping this character and these people, but they've interacted with these characters that you're erasing. And it should be noted that Peter Safran, who's always been a red flag, the guy who backed Amber Heard and said, "We don't bow to fan pressure," has now stated that they are absolutely willing and waiting to work again with Ezra Miller. That's right. He said he just wants to wait to see how his progress goes with his treatment, and then they'll sit down and have a talk. These are the people who fired Johnny Depp and to this day still have not apologized to the man. They're willing to keep Ezra Miller. As for the Henry Cavill thing, there'll be another video coming probably Friday, maybe Saturday, about that, because James Gunn has clarified some stuff about letting him go. And it makes it sound worse, to be honest with you. He throws a bit of shade at Warner Brother, but he also makes it sound worse. So look out for that video. But there you go. There's the announcements. What a pile of garbage. The first thing announced for the new DC is a cartoon called Creature Commandos. Wow. And half these projects for HBO Max, newsflash, HBO Max isn't available all around the world. So good luck with that. Oh, what a letdown. Absolute letdown. But I'll tell you one thing. I think Henry Cavill has dodged the bullet with this one. I think this is truly the end of comic book movies. It really is. Let's put it to rest and move on. Anyway, as I said, there will be a video about the Cavill situation coming soon. I did drop earlier a video about what Batista said. I thought maybe I shouldn't, but I still had to put it out, which clearly shows that whatever James Gunn told Batista was pure bullshit. Anyway, with that, I'll leave it there for this one. But let us know what you think of this slate. Are you looking forward to it? Are you apprehensive? Or do you just hate it outright? Let us know in the comments. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.